2 seconds. Okay. Hello and welcome to today's video where I will be giving you my weekly reminder that you are awesome and that you can stop being so hard on yourself, basically. Because I feel like that's basically what all of my videos are really about, is that you are doing great and that life is really complicated and there's nothing wrong with you. All right, so in today's video, I'm going to be talking about changing our behavior and why changing our behavior is so difficult. And I've made a lot of videos on this before, and I will continue to make videos on this for the rest of time because I feel like one of the things that the self-help, personal growth, spirituality world wants to tell us the most is that we are these ultimate conscious beings who have the capacity to just change our own lives in an instant, right? And that we have this innate, I think a lot of the time in the self-help, spirituality, personal growth world, there is a lot of subtle or not so subtle blaming of everybody for having the habits that they have, for having the lifestyle that they have, for having the diseases that they have, for getting the results in their life that they're getting. And that there's this like kind of constant narrative that the life you have is the life that you are creating, and that you are an ultimate creator, you are the ultimate creator, and anything that's happening to you is because of you. And therefore, if anything bad or painful or harmful is happening, that this is a result of you failing on some level, of you making a bad choice, of you doing the wrong thing. And if you just buy my course or use my tools or whatever it is that the self-help, personal growth, spirituality person is selling, that you will be able to perfect your life and you will be able to get your life on track and make everything perfect. And then if you buy the thing and you do the thing and you don't and you can't and it doesn't make your life perfect and you can't change and you still have your habits or whatever it is, again, that this is a result of you having failed. Like that you didn't try hard enough, you're just in your victim mentality, you're just not doing what you should be doing, and it's just you suck and you need to try harder. And again, I know that a lot of the time this is not presented in the way that I'm saying it, right? The spirituality, self-help, personal growth world presents what I just said in a totally different way. They present it in a, you are powerful, you are a creator, you are a manifester, and you are this super amazing, attracting being who has all of these superpowers, and anything that you want in your life you can achieve, and anything that you want to become you can become, and anything that you want to fix or heal or transcend is fixable and healable and transcendable, so long as you just make the right choices and do the right things and say the right prayers and have the right vibration or whatever it is that their magic pill is. They're telling you that, right, like you are amazing and you are powerful and you are all controlling in a lot of ways. And so this is why, right, the message doesn't sound like what I just said. What most spirituality, self-help, personal growth people are saying. It doesn't sound like blame and shame and victim blaming in the beginning, especially. And the message that they're giving, generally speaking, sounds super empowering and super like they're on your side. And I think that this is the other thing too, like when we're watching these influencers and spiritual people and self-help gurus and people who seem to have made it, we have to remember, right, that a huge part of their marketing and a huge part of their story and a huge part of their how they are presenting themselves is they are going to position themselves to sound and look and feel like they are someone who could be you, right? Like the relatability factor is always a massive part of the personal growth, spirituality, self-help person out there, right? Like they are selling you the idea that they are you and you are them, and that whatever you're seeing in them, whatever you're seeing as the results they've gotten, or the bright light that they are or the life that they have, they want you to see yourself in that. They need you to see yourself in that. They need you to feel like, I relate to this person. I feel like I am this person. I feel like this person has a story that resonates with me, because that's how they sell you whatever product they're selling you. That's how they sell you the miracle cure. And this isn't always true. Like sometimes we have like medical medium style people who are just selling you a miracle, right? That they're selling you here's the formula that works for everyone, the basic formula that works for everyone. I've discovered the secret, and you, as a person who's struggling, as a person who's scared, as a person who has tried a lot of different things to make yourself feel better that haven't worked, you as a person who feels lost and confused and hopeless, you're going to feel really excited and really connected to this miracle product or this miracle solution that I'm giving, because it's going to make sense to the part of ourselves that wants that simple, clear, this is why nothing else has ever worked and this is absolutely going to work miracle promise. Because obviously when we're struggling and we're hurting and we're stuck and we don't feel good, we want the solution to be that makes perfect sense. Like that's not a flaw in our design. That's how we are. And then that's being manipulated, right? Like that's being used to the seller's advantage. So again, coming back to this relatability factor, coming back to this idea that a lot of influencers and a lot of spirituality, personal growth, self-help people present themselves as being just the idealized version of you, right? Like they are presenting themselves as, I am just like you. I'm going to show you my curated imperfections and my little, vulnerability shares that make you feel like we're the same. And then I'm going to sell you the thing that I did, or the product that I took, or the whatever it is that took me from being shitty like you, which is really essentially kind of what they're saying, being in that shitty place that you were in, being sick, being poor, being weak, being not having the partner of my dreams, not having the life of my dreams, not whatever, like the way that you are, to this like imperfectly perfect version of myself, right? The version of ourselves that we see ourselves becoming, right? The flawed perfection that we want to become. Yeah, that's why I'm saying, right? They present to us this curated imperfection that makes you feel like I could be that, right? They are not presenting a completely transcended, like that has gone pretty much by the wayside in a lot of ways in the Western world especially. Like we don't have a lot of people trying to convince us that their every minute of every single day is absolutely like mind-blowingly perfect. Because I think a lot of us at this point would just not believe that. They're selling us my life is like mind-blowingly perfect like 90% of the time. Yeah, and they are trying to sell us I have transcended the thing that is your most painful thing. I have the relationship now. I have the body now. I have the job now. I have the time freedom now. I have the whatever it is. I am the idealized, transcended version of you that you can see yourself becoming. And then, like I say, when we take their advice and we take their programs and we take their products and we do the things that they tell us to do, and it doesn't work, right? It doesn't make us transcended. It doesn't get us where we want to go. It doesn't take us to the next level of our lives. We don't become the curated perfection that they are. Is the message, oh, maybe this just doesn't work for you? Or is the message, maybe there's more to what's going on for you than what was going on for me? Like maybe the thing that I did really did work for me, but it's not going to work for everyone else because everybody else is in a different situation. Is there maybe there are some things in your life that are genuinely out of your control and it's not your fault and my thing isn't going to fix it. Generally speaking, that's not what we hear, right? Generally speaking, what we hear is, well, you're just not trying hard enough. You just didn't do it good enough. You're weak. You don't love yourself enough. You're not doing the right things. You're not saying the right things. You're failing the program. And you just need to try harder, or you need to buy my next thing, or you need to come to my next masterclass, or you need to up level, or you need to push yourself harder, or whatever it is, so that you continue to buy from them when the thing that they sold you didn't work. You see what I'm saying? Like, we live in this economy where now so much of the time, when something that we purchase doesn't work, we become like better customers instead of worse customers, because we're told that the reason the thing didn't work is because of us and we need to invest more. Like, that is completely insane if you think about it. Like, if someone sold us a car and it didn't work, and then they were like, oh, it's because you're not trying to drive it hard enough and you just need to buy more of my products, right? More of my, just buy another engine from me, and then buy another exhaust system, and then buy another, like that would never happen. We would be like, no, clearly it is your product that isn't working. But in the self-help, spirituality, personal growth world, because so much of it is based on the testimony of the person who's selling it to you, that if that person is giving a convincing testimony, which again, so much of the time, right? Like, the testimony is unverifiable. Like, you can't actually get a documentary series or crew in the person's life to see what their actual relationship is like 24/7. We can't actually know what's going on in their head. We don't actually know if maybe they're just happier now because they sold a thing and got really rich and now they have money to do a bunch of things that makes their lives better. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's to test the product and to test the thing is really, really difficult. And so the ease of which our influencers and our spirituality, personal self-help, personal growth people can just turn around and say, well, if it didn't work for you, it's because you suck. Essentially, if it didn't work for you, it's because you're not trying hard enough. If it didn't work for you, you just need to invest more into my thing. The degree to which they can do that is so high because this world of personal growth and self-help and improvement in so many ways is so ethereal that, and at the end of the day, we want to believe this narrative. And at the same time, we've been groomed to believe these narratives. Okay? So now I want to take it back a step and again, remind us all that every single one of us are living a life that has a context. And most of our spirituality, self-help, personal growth does not validate or acknowledge context. You see, so much of the time, you can heal your body, you can heal your relationships, you can find the perfect job, you can get rid of your anxiety and get rid of your depression, and here's the thing you're gonna do to do that, is based on this idea that all of us adults just grew until we were 18, and then we were fully conscious and just made shitty decisions for no reason in a reality where we have complete control. We have unlimited access to resources, we have unlimited access to safety, we have unlimited access to whatever it is that we would want or need. And then we're just making bad choices so that we don't have those things. Again, from a completely clear, untraumatized, unprogrammed intellect, that if we're making bad choices, we can just change our conscious choices because that's all everything is based on, just a conscious choice, and then we'll get different results. Like, that is what they are telling us. Just change your diet. Just change the way you communicate. Just change your vibration. Just choose to value yourself. Just change the way that you believe about money. Just get rid of these spiritual blocks, and everything will be better, and everything in your life will change. And it sounds so good, and it sounds so simple, and it sounds so reasonable, because again, the context that we're in, to us, is like a fish in water. Our life circumstances and conditions and our programmed responses and our perceptions and all of these things that are actually playing into the consequences of our lives, that are actually playing into the outcomes we're experiencing, are all background noise to us as well, because they're not conscious choices we made. And for the most part, we have never had an experience outside of our own experience. And therefore, we are assuming, we project so much of ourselves and our conditions and our context onto the people that we're learning from, that we assume if it worked for them, it must work for me, because we're assuming we all have the same context. Because most of us aren't aware of our context, and so we're unconsciously, subconsciously projecting the context of our lives onto everyone else's life, and then thinking, well, if they could do it, I can do it because we're the same. Look, we both have that weird thing where we like shave our toenails, and isn't that funny that we're relatably the same? I relate to them, and we're the same. And therefore, if they have it and they can do it, yeah, it makes sense. But this is not reality. In real reality, like I said, all of us are existing in a context. And context matters. The context of the traumas you experienced growing up, the context of the education you got, the context of the way you were taught to look at yourself and look at the world, the way that you were supported or unsupported in how you learn best and in how you function best, the ways in which the society that you live in is set up to support the way that you function or is antagonistic to the way that you function, the nutrition you had access to, the opportunities you had access to, like I said, the circumstances, the opportunities, the people you had access to, the awareness you had access to. All of that matters. And then understanding that we are not just living from our conscious choices. And this, again, is something that the spirituality, self-help, personal growth world is starting to get to, with the, like, oh, all of a sudden everyone's talking about trauma and how we have these habits because of trauma and how we have these feelings because of trauma. And it's not just we're making bad choices for no reason. Yeah. And hopefully they're going to eventually get onto, and also, programming. It's not even necessarily that we were traumatized or that some horrible thing happened, but a lot of our habits and a lot of the ways that we do things come because of the way we were programmed. As in, we were being given in our early childhoods not what the world was, but how to interpret the world. We weren't just being shown sky, clouds, weather, blah. We were being shown weather means this, clouds are this. Put it more in reality terms. To be like this is bad. To do this thing is good. To be good is to be loved, is to be accepted, is to be safe. To be bad is to be rejected, is to be alone, is to not have your needs met, is to die. And here are all the things that you have to be good. And here are all the things that you cannot be. Otherwise, you are bad. And here is how you are going to interpret everyone else's choices from here on out. Regardless of how those choices actually play out in real reality. Here is how you are going to interpret what happens to your body. Here is how you are going to interpret what it means when someone says this or does this to you. And that is going to completely dictate the way you are going to respond to your life viscerally. And you have a nervous system and a body and a brain that gets programmed. You are not making conscious choices all day long about what you are going to do with your behavior. Most of the things that you do in a day are subconscious and unconscious. They are based on programs that were built in that you are just playing out every single day. Over and over and over and over and over again. Right? Like we give the example of, you remember driving to work this morning? Do you remember every turn you took and everything that you did? Probably not. Because it's programmed in. Why do I keep having that exact same fight with my partner? Because you're not making a conscious choice to have that fight. Why do I keep making the exact same dietary choices? Because a lot of the time you're not making a conscious choice. And as much as you try to make a conscious choice to override your program, so much of the time you can't do it. Because these programs are strong. And we have to remember, we evolved this way. Right? Our ancestors were the ones that survived because they were able to program in responses to reality that worked pretty much every time. So they didn't have to make up their mind about what they were going to be doing every minute of every day. Because we didn't have the brain capacity to do that. That would have been way too much thinking involved. Because again, think about it. If you had to consciously choose what you were going to do every single step of the day, would you even make it out of your bedroom in the morning? With how many choices you have to make. Should I get out of this side of the bed or this side of the bed? What time should I get out of the bed? What should I do first? Teeth, hair, toilet, clothes, shower? What thing should I do first in the shower? Like, think about all the little things that happen in just the space of time of getting up from your bed to leaving your bedroom. That if you had to make the choice every single day of what you were going to do, there was no programs, your brain would explode. You'd be so exhausted with thinking. Yet, when we look at our self-sabotage, our scapegoating, our same fights over and over again, we look at the ways that we cope and that we numb and that we stimulate, and we think, why can't I just change these behaviors? I know better. These things hurt me. These things don't work. These things are bad. What's wrong with me that I can't just do something different? Nothing. Your evolutionary biology is working perfectly. That's why you can't change it right now. Because you have programs. And the fact that you have programs is a result of you being the descendant of the lineage of human beings that survived. So, good job. Evolutionarily speaking, you are a success. That's why you're here. You have those programs, and that's a success. Now, when we want to change them, when we have programs we don't like, when we have things going on that are painful. Again, right? The influencer wants to tell you, let's just access your subconscious with this magic meditation and I'll fix your brain. And then you'll have superpowers and you'll go into the quantum and it will help you rearrange your cells and then everything is under your control, right? Like the reality is only happening between your two ears, teachers, of which there are a million different varieties. That if you just get your mind right with whatever technique they're selling, you can shift your reality, your entire reality, to be whatever you want it to be. You can shift yourself, you can manifest whatever you want. Okay. There are like let's take a step back here and just critically think about this for a second. At this point, given how many manifest your perfect reality teachers there are, we'll be super conservative and say there are hundreds of thousands of people who have earnestly followed these teachings, who have earnestly set their minds to focusing on the positive, to focusing on what they want, to doing these meditations on a daily basis and changing how they think about themselves and changing how they think about the world and reprogramming their subconscious and blah, blah, blah. Hundreds of thousands of people who have done this. Why are we not seeing provable, at least hundreds of people with provable evidence that this stuff works? That they actually changed permanently for the better. And we're following up with them for longer than just like 2 months after the big seminar. Because again, I will give you that when we go to like the conferences or the ceremonies or the retreats or whatever, especially, and we're in that room and there's all the energy and everything's being excited and our nervous systems are being super highly activated and we're being very, 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 very strongly power of suggestion manipulated into believing that this thing is super powerful and changing our lives. We're getting all this love and all this acceptance and all this community of being around people. Yeah? There is an absolute possibility of the placebo effect of that making us feel like something has really changed. And we ride that high for a couple of weeks, and then we come back to our lives, and then slowly it starts to fade, and we think, oh, it's because I dropped off, I'm not doing the technique, I'm not whatever. When really it was the technique never did anything. It was the being in the room, in the group energy, with all that stimulation and all that community and all that made us feel like something was different. But again, if we could just completely radically change our realities, the way that a lot of these teachers are saying we can and we should be able to, there would be far more sustainable testimonials. Way more people would be doing this because it's like the easiest thing in the world. We all have conscious control over our conscious minds. If that's all it took to make ourselves different and to change our lives and to change our habits, like none of us would be struggling. If it worked the way a lot of these teachers say that it worked, they would be working themselves out of a job. And honestly, they wouldn't have a job to begin with. Because if it was all just, I'm an adult who can make better choices for myself when I want to, the second we started suffering because of our choices, we would start making different choices. None of us would keep doing things that hurt. We wouldn't need someone to come and tell us, hey, you should stop doing that. You know, that thing that you're doing that you also feel shitty when you do, you should stop that. Like the idea that if we walk up to every smoker and just shame them, that they'll just stop. Like, what? That's not why they're not smoking because they have no idea that it's bad for them. Like, nobody on the planet at this point is smoking thinking, this is fine for my health. Like, there's absolutely no risk to me doing this. They know. There's no person on the planet who's self-sabotaging, who's scapegoating, who's doing the same painful habits in their relationships over and over and over again, who just thinks it's fine and needs someone to be like, oh, you're making bad choices. You need to, like, stop that. Right? Which proves right there that it's not just our conscious mind making a conscious choice that's the bad choice and we need to make a different, better choice. Okay. So a lot of these self-help, spirituality, personal growth gurus are selling you the idea that your life is happening because of just choices you're making. And you're making those choices just because of being weak or being lazy or being non-intelligent or whatever. And like I say, some of them are starting to say maybe trauma, maybe, but still no matter, no worries. You can just change your choices, become more self-aware, become more disciplined, and you can change and be different. And if you can't, again, it's because you're weak. It's because you're lazy. It's because you're not trying hard enough. It's because you're not doing the right thing. So buy more of my programs, buy more of my books, come to more of my seminars, join more of my masterminds, and become your better, higher, truer self. You need to love yourself more. You're not loving yourself enough. Okay. The real reality is everything that you are doing for a reason. You are doing it because of the programming you received all throughout your formative years, some of which you are completely unconscious of. You are doing it because of the context you grew up in. You are doing it from when you were being taught what life was in that time is often going to be more influential for the choices you're making now than the context of your life now. In other words, the circumstances of your childhood taught you how you're going to behave around money, how you're going to behave around other people, what parts of yourself you're going to accept and not accept. It taught you, it gave you your education. It gave you your foundations for what's a good job or a good relationship or any of these things to pursue. And those conditions are going to weigh more heavily on the choices you make now than the conditions you're actually in. So you might have grown up poor, and maybe now you're financially stable or rich, but your nervous system is going to continue to want to hoard and save and be afraid that there's not enough, despite all this evidence that you have $1 million now, because you got programmed that there wasn't enough. And that program got in there as being the basis of what you think reality is and how you think you need to behave in order to be safe. And that is dictating your subconscious programming more than your conscious mind understanding that you have money now. If you grew up in a condition where you had to predict the needs of everyone around you in order to be loved, and now you have relationships where people don't want or don't need that, You're still going to feel like you have to do that, and you're going to project it onto them. You're literally going to see that they are asking this of you, and that they are mad at you, and that they don't like you when they aren't. You won't even see sometimes that your programming is telling you that a reality that no longer exists still exists. And your mind is then going to look for evidence to support that what you grew up with exists, even when it doesn't. Because our minds and ourselves need a consistent understanding of how reality is to feel safe. That's how we were trained to see the world. That's why perception is such a huge deal. That's why I call this channel Perception Trainers. We have to understand that our programmed perception means you're rich now, your perception is still looking for how you don't have enough and you're not going to be okay. Because that's what got programmed in as what reality is. You grew up in a codependent household, your mind is looking for all the evidence for how it's still codependent now. And if you don't do those things now, you're not safe. Even when conditions have changed. Because that's your programming. That's what your body knows to do. That's what your everything wants to do. That's what's your familiar. That's how you were trained to see the world. And now you're running that program over and over and over again. And your mind is collecting evidence for how it's the real thing and exactly what you need to be doing. And it's canceling out anything that contradicts it. So changing first how we see reality is the first hurdle. It's really difficult. To see why we're doing what we're doing, because that's how I had to do it in my childhood in order to be safe, in order to feel like I was doing what I was doing. That's how I adapted to my circumstances and the pain that I was in and the not understanding how reality worked. To even be able to see that takes a lot. Then to be able to see all of the evidence we're now not looking at and all of the things that have changed that we can't see right now takes a lot. And then to be able to allow that to break down what we think reality is. To literally allow ourselves to have our paradigms broken. Because that's really uncomfortable. Is a big deal. And then to start to convince ourselves to do something different. To convince our nervous systems that the way I've always done things isn't the best way. Because again, remember, why do we have these programs? Why do we have these programmed responses to life? Because in order to survive, our ancestors needed to be able to act on a dime. In a survival instinct, in a survival environment, if you hear a rustle in the bushes, you need to be able to act immediately without having to think about it, without having to understand what was going on, without having to have a whole bunch of information. Because there isn't time for that. Our ancestors who were able to hear a rustle in a bush and climb up a tree on instinct, that program was programmed in, were the ones that survived. The ones that heard the rustle in the bush and then had to go and look and see what it was and then decide what was going to happen, they got eaten. Okay? So to the body, doing what we've always done is how we have survived threat. So again, that person in the wild who heard the rustle in the bush and climbed up a tree and just did that on instinct, there were probably lots of times where that rustle in the bush was like the wind or nothing. And they climbed up the tree every single time anyways. Because to their body, rustle in the bush equals threat, climb up tree equals safety, equals the thing that saved my life. So whether or not that rustle in the bush was actually a threat, it doesn't matter. To the body, it was a threat, and the thing that saved my life was climbing the tree. Our bodies, they handed those genes, they handed that program to us. When we feel any kind of triggered by this life, when we feel like we're being abandoned, when we feel like we're being shamed, when we feel like there's not enough, when we feel like we're scared, when we feel like we're lonely, when we have an emotion we don't know how to express, when we feel like we want to do something, when we feel like that's a trigger. Our bodies don't know the difference between someone's mad at me and I'm gonna die. Because remember, what was that first program we got in our childhoods? Love equals getting all the things that I need. Why? Because caregivers are the providers of all of the things that I need. I cannot provide anything for myself. Therefore, if I am rejected, I am not safe because I won't get any of the things that I need. If I am loved, I am safe because then I will get the stuff. People are the middleman between me and survival. That's our first program. So all of us, when we feel like we're being rejected, when we feel like we're not good enough, when we feel like we're not loved, we get triggered. And then what are we going to do? Our programmed response. We're going to do the thing we've always done for our entire lives. We're going to cope, we're going to numb, we're going to codependent, we're going to self-sabotage, we're going to try our best to fit in. And then the pain of that is going to make us have to turn to something to numb the pain out or to stimulate ourselves. We have these habits because the body literally thought, I was being rejected, I was about to die, I ate cookies, now I'm safe, I'm not dead, therefore eating the cookies saved my life. So now every single time I feel like that, I'm going to eat the cookies because my body literally thinks that's what I have to do to survive. The body can't tell that when mom and dad were yelling at me when I was a kid, I wasn't going to die. They probably were still going to love me and still going to feed me even though they were upset with me. My body can't tell that when I was scared and I didn't know what to do and I ate some cookies, that the dopamine release and the feeling of safety and nourishment and all that stuff that came out of that wasn't actually saving my life from a threat. But now every time I'm triggered, I want to eat cookies. Why? Because my body literally thinks that's what I have to do to survive. That got programmed in. And that's a simplistic example, right? Because a lot of us, again, we are so much more complex than that. We all have different neurobiochemistry. We all have different things that we were taught we were allowed to and not allowed to do. We all have different ways that our coping mechanisms have morphed and changed and evolved over time. We all have different things that we've learned that are okay and not okay. And it's so deep in there, who we are and who we are not allowed to be, and the shame and the guilt that so many of us have about who and what we are. So then again, right, like the degree to which your true self was rejected by your caregivers is the degree to which you have an existential relationship with parts of yourself that anytime they come up, you have to sabotage, you have to cope, you have to numb, you run, you get triggered, you trigger yourself into any part of you that comes up that got you rejected means you're going to go into your behaviors because this existential threat is from within. And to you, it's the part of you that you hate and you're trying to get rid of it. And you've been trying to self-help and personal growth and spirituality it out of yourself for years and years and years. And it's triggering you into all of your bad behaviors. And I'm putting that in quotes if you're just listening to this. It's triggering you into all of your bad behaviors, which then triggers you into more self-help, which makes you feel more rejected and more like you're not safe and more like you're not okay, which triggers you more into your shit. Shit, again, being in quotes, triggers you into your coping mechanisms and your numbing and your scapegoating, trying to be more of who you're not, which causes pain, which triggers more fear, which triggers more self-help, which triggers more self-rejection, which triggers more addicting, coping, self-sabotaging. And then to try to accept who you really are and to be who you really are and to experience the rejection that is absolutely going to come from that triggers you into your behaviors. And this is not even to mention that some of us have actual neurological things going on with us that need medical attention. Some of us have actual biological things that are wrong with us, and we're coping and we're numbing and we're scapegoating because we didn't get the care that we needed. We're sick and we're being blamed for our own sickness, or our sickness wasn't understood. We're unwell in some way and we're not being supported. And that's what's happening. And we're coping and we're numbing and we're scapegoating to deal with the pain of all of that. And we exist in a context. And that context is a world that is constantly fucking triggering. You look at pretty much all marketing, all news, all entertainment, and it's all a reminder of how not good enough you are. You're not on the trend, you're not as pretty as her, you're not as fit as them, you're not as smart, you're not as successful, you're not as good. Go on social media, go on regular media. It's this constant reminder of how there's not enough, we're not going to be okay, the food system is shutting down, pandemic, all of this shit. Are you scared yet? Yeah? Okay, is that triggering you into your things that you think are wrong with you? Good. Here's Dr. whatever with the magic heal your brain meditation for $444.44. Oh, that didn't work for you? It's because you need the $4,000 mastermind. Right? And when I say it like that, it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds awful. But that's exactly what's happening. We're constantly being triggered into not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. You're not enough, you're not good enough, you need more. You got to be changing the world more, you got to be doing more, you got to be... And then all of the things you're doing to cope with all that fear, all of your coping, your numbing, your self-sabotage, your scapegoats, the things that you do that harm you and others, those are things that are wrong with you. And here are 4,000 more products that you can buy to fix that about yourself. So why can't I do better when I know better? Because context. Most of the time we are not taking any of this into context. We're not looking at what's actually happening. We're not looking at what's actually triggering us. We're not looking at our childhood programs. We're not looking at our traumas. We're not looking at how hard it is to change our programs because of evolutionary biology. It's not just a choice you're making. Hello. Like we have to be reasonable about this. If you are just making bad choices consciously from your adult mind, then you don't need a program. Just make a different choice. That should be all it takes. And if it isn't all it takes, it's not because you're weak and it's not because you're lazy and it's not because you're just not trying. It's because you're programmed and you're making habits and you have habits that have been there for a long time, that are based on fear, that are based on trauma, that are based on things that actually happened that aren't happening anymore, that are based on things that happened that are still happening, that you're still in a painful situation that is normal to you, normal in quotes, but painful, right? Like so many people that I've worked with are just like, why? Why do I keep doing my behaviors? Why do I keep sabotaging myself? Why do I keep doing this? And I'm like, okay. And then we talk, and then it's like, oh yeah, like I really, I don't like the way that my parents think I have to relate to the members of the opposite sex. I don't like the way my relationship is. I don't like the society that I'm trying to fit into. All of these things don't work for me. And I'm like, yeah, and all day long you're being told that the thing that's wrong with this is you. Instead of you being able to be like, oh, maybe it's not me. Maybe this is, I don't want to do this. And then we were like, well, there you go. That's why you're still doing your behaviors, because you're constantly being threatened in your environment. But you've been taught, again, to shame and blame and guilt yourself. That you can't fit in and you can't do it right. You're not doing it right. Instead of, maybe I'm coping and numbing and self-sabotaging and scapegoating because I'm in pain trying to live the way I'm being told I have to live. I don't feel good in my religion. I don't feel good in my family of origin. I don't feel good in this job. I don't feel good in what I was taught was right. I don't feel good in my relationship. And yet I think it's something wrong with me that I have to cope and numb and stimulate and do all these things while I'm in it. A lot of the time it's like, okay, so let's look at this bad behavior, quote unquote, and how is it helping you? If you were to actually stop your bad behavior, what would you lose? And so much of the time it's like, whoa, yeah, right. It's helping me rest in ways that I don't know how to rest. It's helping me not feel the pain of these things. It's helping me be more of a human when I've been trained that I'm not allowed to be this. It's helping me meet needs that I don't know how to meet otherwise. When we get in loops of thought of like, I can't find my purpose, I can't find my purpose, I can't find my purpose, my body's not right, my body's not right, my body's not right, I need to find the right relationship, I need to find the right, we're not seeing, right? Like we're in those loops of thinking that thing, that's a scapegoat. What's really happening is I'm angry and I don't know how to feel my anger. I'm sad and I'm upset about something and I feel like I have to blame myself for it instead of being upset about others. A huge one is trying to fix ourselves, trying to do all of these things because we don't know how to be mad at our caregivers. We don't know how to actually get mad at them and blame them for a period of time. Because we're told by the spirituality, self-help, personal growth world that we're not allowed to do that. That's victim consciousness. But the real reality is that we won't figure out what we actually need in order to build a life that actually works for ourselves until we get mad at the people who programmed us the wrong way. And yes, eventually you might get to the other side where you just see them as people who were flawed and it wasn't their fault. But you have to go through the anger first. But also, it's really scary to get mad at our caregivers. Because what we're really doing when we get mad at our caregivers is we're questioning our foundations about how reality work, which means we're going to have an existential crisis. We're going to have multiple existential crises. Because if our parents weren't right, if our caregivers weren't right, that means all that we're trying to do that is promising us that when I just get the right job, when I just get off these drugs, when I just get my shit together, I'll be happy, that all falls apart. We start to realize, no, that's actually not it. I keep trying to go for this life that I'm being told that when I have it like this, I will be happy. And the reason I am struggling so much to go for that thing is because that will not make me happy. That is not how life works. And now I have to figure out a whole different way of how life works. Most of us would rather stay blaming and shaming ourselves and believing that this behavior that I'm doing is just this stupid thing that I'm doing and I can just choose to be different one day and I'm just not. Because that's easier than believing I'm going to have to figure some whole other thing out. The reason I'm doing this is because of this huge context. and my life and my nervous system, and the change is going to be slow and steady over time and scary and uprooting and learning to love parts of myself and then reject parts of reality or parts of culture and parts of things that I was taught that are the way you have to be and the things you have to do to get love and acceptance and safety. Like, it's this whole change. So when we have repetitive behaviors that we can't fix, quote unquote, we have to look at context. We have to look at the bigger picture. We have to understand there's so much more to this than just I'm making a bad choice in my adult conscious mind. How is it serving you? How is it helping you? What would you lose if you didn't have it? How is it helping you cope, numb, simulate in a life that doesn't work for you? What's your perception of what is right and wrong? And is that actually playing out for real in reality? Like, there are so many things we have to look at here. And then again, to train the body that we can do something different when we feel that threat and that we won't die takes a long time. Making new habits and proving to your body that those new habits are safe takes a long time. The body has to be convinced. The mind might understand, okay, I know what my need is, that I'm getting met by this self-sabotaging behavior and I can replace it with this new behavior. But the next time you get triggered, you're still going to want to do the old behavior because your body thinks that's the thing that works. That's the tried and true method. So you have to slowly introduce the new thing while still doing the old thing. And slowly, slowly show your body the new thing works. And actually test, does it? Does the new thing actually work the way that you think it's going to? Does it work as well as you think it's going to? These things take time and they take energy and they take so much compassion. So we can't always do better when we know better. It is not that simple. We are not just adults who arrived in our in our adulthoods with full consciousness of absolutely everything that could be perfect and are just making bad choices. And yes, we can build new habits, but they have to work. The new habits have to be better than the old habits. We're never going to be able to replace an old habit with a new habit unless the new habit actually works better than the old habit. Because a lot of us are like, well, I'm just going to replace my TV watching with meditating. As if. If you're going to TV to try to numb yourself, how exactly is trying to do something that makes you even more aware of the pain that you're in going to be a good replacement for that? It's not. Sounds so spiritual. I'll just stop watching TV and do more meditation and it'll make me peaceful. No, it won't. It'll make you more aware of the pain that you're in. If you don't have tools to process that, it's going to make you less peaceful. Your nervous system is going to get more overwhelmed. That's just not how it works. Okay. So, context. Programming, trauma, the actual conditions you're living in, the nervous systems that you have. This is why we can't just change and do better when we know better. This is why we need to be patient with ourselves. This is why we need to be compassionate with ourselves. This is why change takes time and lots of awareness, but also lots of practice. The body has to be proven that new things work, which means doing them over and over and over again, which means crying a lot, which means, right? Crying, processing, therapy, journaling, releasing of emotions, orienting, doing a lot of orienting to what's actually happening right now versus what the story in my mind is. Realizing what are the things that I have control over, what are the things that I don't have control over, what are the things that are me, what are the things that are not me. What do I have control over right now? What do I maybe not have control over right now, but I'll have control over it later? We don't have perfect control. We have to step out of superstition. and into real reality that there's complicating factors in all of this. Because again, if it really were as simple as just change your mind, change your life, you would have done it by now. Because you're not lazy, and you're not weak, and you're not just not trying. Don't ever let anyone convince you of that ever again. If you're in pain and you're trying to change it and the things you're using aren't working, doubt the tools, don't doubt yourself. Don't let anyone gaslight you into another $1,000 mastermind. If their tools are not working, they're not going to work at the higher level either. If their low-level tools don't work, their high-level tools are not going to be any better. It's not you. Okay? Okay. So that's your reminder for this week that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not shitty. You're doing a good job. Life is complicated, and that is sometimes not a relief, but it's a better explanation than you're just not changing because you're just not trying. Okay? Okay. So have a great week, have a great day, have a great month. Until I see you again.